What gives us worth in this world? What gives us value in being a human being? And it's interesting because when we look out for an answer for this, almost the first thing we see are two polar opposites. We see one end of the spectrum on the internet saying that we need to have a reputation, we need to have money, we need to have success, we need to have status, we need to finally be the man or the woman that society is going to respect. And when we have that, we can have power, we can have things, we could have people ensuring us that we'll never have to feel pain again. And through that, we're going to have value, we're going to have fulfillment. And then on the other side of that spectrum, we have a completely different narrative, one of self-introspection, one of internal experiences, one of meditation, one of looking at intimate experiences, personal experiences, being a part of a collective, and so on. And what's interesting is if we do both of those things individually, we will never be fulfilled. So what is going to bring us value? What is going to bring us worth? And this is something that everybody in our modern day society needs to consider, is that if we are going to have things like happiness, if we are going to have things like integrity, if we are going to have things like value, if we are going to know who we are and be able to project and interact with that world, we need to live in both. And what that means is that we need to respect and have functionality with the money that you make, the job that you have. You need to know that that is going to play into a reputation within the world. You need to know that your relationships are important. You need to know that image, legacy, and all these different things are going to play into how you feel a part of that world. But to think that any of those things will completely fulfill you, to think that they will fuel you internally, to depend on them solely to solve your problems, will create a mountain of misery for you.
Okay, I'm going to try and give this a try. So, I was doing an edit of this video in the airport, and I was looking through all the cool little B-roll stuff that I had there, and I was like, man, you know what? I'm not making this point good enough, so I'm going to try and do it. It's important because it's what I teach from, and so many guys make changes based off of this perspective, so it's important that you learn it. And this gives me an opportunity to put in more of the cool footage from traveling and all that sort of stuff, which is all mixed up. Okay, let's get into it. And by the way, this is what you look like when you've been traveling all day and night, something I do quite a bit of. I think I can finish this video now. Hopefully. So men have been coming to me for 17 years now, working with me on all sorts of different stuff. Literally anything a man wants to progress at, I have worked at, and at a super high level. So dating and sex, there's those things, and there's a lot of trauma in there, but also there's so much to a man that has to do with that. How he dates, how he has sex, how he feels his sex, his identity as being a male is massive. Also, a huge part of my career has been addiction and working with people in that, and that's very difficult. I mean, addiction is always going to be a tricky thing. You see a lot of the darker sides and things, and sadly, it's more and more common these days. Huge part is divorce, huge part is personal excellence, huge part is coming back from all these different things. So whenever we get these hard things in our lives where we have to change from, and we can, I mean, that's my job, and what I'm so good at is helping guys get from very difficult things and turning their lives into what actually fulfills them and makes them happy. We have a lie within our culture. And that lie within our culture tells us that if we have more money, more success, more power, more, we will be fulfilled. And in actuality, it's a massive scarcity mindset. You know, I'm one of those people that I love making videos, but I'm such a dude, I'm such a guy. Like, who wants to comb their hair? The whole point of getting a short haircut is so you don't have to do this. But then when it grows out and you get this thing, it just, all right, let's do this. So I want to put this in perspective because I've had a lot of guys come to me with serious problems and they've come out on the other side. And there's not a lot of different coaches in this industry who could say that they've made the changes that I've made with people. Those changes are dependent upon understanding this lie that society gives us. And as I've said before, it always revolves around some male hyper masculinity archetype that's really a fantasy. I also want to say that these fantasies and these archetypes are important, and it's not just an either or thing. So let's say we're coming out of a divorce, we're in pain, we're pissed off, we're angry, we get treated unfairly, maybe we get screwed over in divorce and custody. Let's say we're trying to come back from addiction, and addiction is brutal and kind of a blessing in disguise, because with addiction, we have usually such heavy consequences, they're unavoidable to see. But there's also this huge denial thing and so on, but we want to better our lives. Let's say we're lacking male identity and culture and we don't have a sex life. We're looked over by everybody. American women, first world Western women, feminism, yada, yada, yada. It ruins everything. We are unable to have a sex life. We're unable to have worth. We're frustrated. We're angry. The list of male problems in modern culture goes on and on. Now, because of these specific problems that men go through in our culture, there's a specific pain. And of course, there's diversity, pain from addiction, pain from a divorce, pain from lack of sex, pain from lack of identity, pain from being judged upon by society and culture, saying that your natural traits of ambition and so on are toxic. These are all different pains, but they're consistent in our culture. And because of that, there is a reaction. Now, also in general, our culture is superficial. It's very superficial. It's very appearance-based. It's very results-heavy. We have to get something now or else it doesn't work or it's bad. The good thing is the thing that works right now and everything else is bad. And then there's no other worth or opportunity for something to take more time to incubate and so on. I wanna really have this make sense to you because, look, I've been making videos for a long time and I've been coaching for a long time. All the people who watch my videos say I talk too fast and cover too many complex issues or whatever, or they're just jargon. But then people who work with me go, Jesus Christ, man, this is crazy. When I work your programs, I can understand this and it's unreal. And then when I look back and watch your old videos, when you're talking about all this stuff, you're talking about it. I really try to articulate these things well. But again, in the 20 or so courses and programs that I've made and work with people, they're pretty clear. It's just they're long. I can't put an 8-week course or a 12-week course in a 10-minute video. Make sense? So in order for you to understand this, we need to know that our entire culture, at least in the first world, Western world, our culture is amazing. It does a lot for us, but because it does so much for us, it has to be super high functioning. It puts immense pressure on people. We don't socialize with each other. We ignore other people. We have a lack of value and so on. There's a bunch more videos that actually I recorded part of them when I was just in Bogota, and we get into this, so I'm gonna kind of skip it. So if our culture is kind of screwed up, but super good. I mean, it benefits us in many ways, but it's super superficial, it's results-based, and all these different things. The reaction to the consistent pain that men feel is also going to carry out those traits. And this is why everybody is obsessed with the superhero. So this is why we have this answer to our pain in our culture having to do with getting more things now. It's gotta look good, it's gotta be strong, it's gotta have the most power, it's gotta prevent any form of pain happening. If we only do that, if we only focus on our looks, if we only focus on our muscles, if we only focus on our appearance, our status, we are going to be miserable and unfulfilled. And in some ways, it's the worst kind of misery because you're getting results, You have no excuses to be unhappy, and you are unhappy. This is terrible because when it came to things like sex or travel or abundance of women or money, for me, these were all things at points in my life where I had the absolute maximum, or whatever you want to call, of those things, and yet it forced in front of me, why are you still unhappy? There must be more. Okay, we're gonna try this. So then this gets into the opposite of that, which is what our culture loves to do. If something's not working, if something's broken, hold on. I gotta fix this. How about that? Does that work? Well, so if something isn't working, if something's broken, if something's causing a problem, then that whole thing has to be deleted, canceled, whatever you want to call it, and then taken out and replaced by the image of the opposite of my pain. So this is another dynamic when it comes into personal development and so on, is people start looking at what is the opposite of that. And so these are things like meditation or making peace or community. And it's really interesting because when we see this, we have from our culture saying like, oh, we just need our valley, our tribe, our people, and this is how we evolved, and and it's all gonna be good. And the fact of the matter is it's not necessarily how we evolved. We did evolve in small communities and all these different things. And again, there's another video that's talking about this. I'm writing a book that talks all about this. We were also living in those communities without a reaction and a rebellion to our modern culture. But let's think about this. When we're seeking our solution, how much of our problem is behind that? Am I meditating so that I can find self, peace, a difference in who I am, of the being of all things, and so on? Man, I really articulated that bad, and I take meditation really, really seriously in a way that I just tried to describe, which is to find peace within myself. But more and more I hear people talk about meditation and they say something like, man, once I started meditating, I doubled my income and I was much more efficient with work and I was better off in the world and could multitask better. When it comes down to this answer to us living this abnormally stressed life with way too much responsibility, with pressure and competition, with our worth being matched to how much money we make rather than anything to do with our character, we do the same things with our solutions. I'm exercising so I can look good, so I could have more power, have more status. I'm not exercising for health. I'm not exercising because my body was born to be healthy. I'm exercising because I feel empty, and I'm doing these things because if I can have more, I'll be fulfilled. I'm giving, I'm practicing humanity, I'm sharing, I'm creating things, not because it's a true expression of myself, and sharing with other people, and compassion and connection are some of the fundamental core human qualities that make us feel whole and complete. But I'm doing that so that I can say I did it, so that I can show I did it, so that I can feel good, so I could work harder to be a better part of this society. So we get in this trap of taking these qualities that are our nature, are born to be qualities, our purpose, our ambition, the health of our bodies, the health of our minds, our sex drive, our social life, and they get exploited by our culture's narrative of what we're supposed to be doing. But see, it's interesting because we are a part of this world. I'm a part of this world. Look at my life. I work online. I'm independent. I'm a father. I live in multiple places all over the world. I travel a lot. I am a product of the modern culture. Yet within all of this, make no mistakes that my life doesn't understand this crazy balance that we have to partake in. I cannot deny my culture, and I cannot deny the pain that I walked into that shaped my mind, my culture, that gave me the entire foundation for the total ecosystem of my emotional makeup, my thoughts, my body, the health of my body, the health of my mind. I am going to speak my culture's language, but there's also a totally different language that happens within me. And this is the one of simplicity. This is the one of true sharing. This is the one of true caring. And they need to be intertwined. Now, you can understand that when you come into contact with this perspective, it can really upset you, especially when you're on the road to personal development. And the other thing too that is so important for men's development, if we are carrying our pain, our reaction, our man, I don't want to be alone, I don't want to be demasculated, demasculated, I don't want to be emasculated. I don't want to be used and left by a woman in divorce. If we carry that into our solution, we completely infect our solution. And of course, at the beginnings of change, and this is why communities and being led and guided through big changes in your life is so important, we are going to mix them. It's impossible to not have that pain. You know, all of this comes from these daily meditations that I write, and I actually put them off for the last 6 months. If you're on my email list, you still get them because I've written so many of them. I've written 170 so far, I think. The whole reason why I stopped was because for the last 6-7 months I've been writing a book. I just finished the first draft and the editors emailed me back saying, I'm gonna need to change a lot. So in this daily meditation that I wrote that I wanted to base this video off of, but then I started talking about all this other stuff, it is talking about this. It is talking about the modern world in the self and how we get there. That in order for us to have leadership, in order for us to have self-worth, in order for us to feel whole, this thing that everybody is longing for in our culture, and in a culture where masculinity is not appreciated, there is a way to get there. And it is the mixing of those two things, the learning of the balance. It means that there is a part of my masculinity that needs to be pursued, but I need to take into account that I have been augmented by this world. That my solution that I get from this world, this society, is going to carry a huge amount of pain. Once I realize that's the case, I can't rebel from it. I can't just say, oh my God, this doesn't work, I'm gonna live this new way. I have to integrate those two things. And this is one of the greatest aspects of masculinity. If you're a man in this modern world, we work hard in our lives. This is massive. We're never supposed to get it exactly right. But what we are supposed to have is the absolute power of our minds, the absolute power of our bodies, the power of our sex, the power of our social life, the power of our ambition, our purpose, and our building and creating. These are all throughout our evolution, and you can be fulfilled with them in this culture, but it takes a different approach. Now, as I've told you, I've been working with men for a long time, a massive amount of time. Now, these men that have worked with me have made huge changes, and I mean profound. Most of the guys sought out help before me, spent 20 grand on different coaches and so on, and with me, they made change. And this was a fundamental change in self. This was a fundamental change in who they were. We may have started with their sex life, we may have started with their divorce, we may have started with their bodies, but I go deep, very, very deep. And there's a certain beauty and an honor of holding a man's life in your hands. If this is a message for you, if this is a message you resonate with, then I think it's very, very important that you get involved in my communities, you check out some of the free PDFs down below. There's a link which kind of links to everything in one of those kind of Linktree things. But there's tools to help you. The best, the absolute best tool to start with is the Rising Man community. It's a monthly charge. It's awesome. You get actually 4 calls a week at the time I'm making this, but it might go back down to 3, but you get plenty of access. Not only that, there's courses on purpose, on ambition, of all these things that I'm talking about, of splitting the hairs of this tough stuff for you to write about, for you to work within the group, the community, and the calls on, and people grow a lot from it. It actually doesn't matter where you're starting, because if you are going through a divorce and some of this stuff that I am talking about a lot on this channel, there are tools specifically for that. But also, if you're coming in and you feel that you're not getting the women that you want, or you feel emasculated in some way, there are courses and tools for that in the Rising Man. Bottom line is, if you want to better your life in any aspect of what I've worked with in terms of men's development in the last nearly 20 years, there is a course for that to start with on the Rising Man. It is the best starting place. Enough of that pitch stuff. Let me take you on a little bit of a journey here. Hold on. Okay, so I guess my question to you guys is, what do you want to hear about? Because on the men's journey, there's so many different things and so many different things to my life that I want to tell you about. And the guys in my upper tier groups get to hear all about them, and it's pretty cool. There's this whole life of international travel, which I've kept pretty much private to the public. Now, I've done this while being a father of 4 boys, and really being as involved in my kids' lives as much as possible. And so when I got divorced, I was like, man, I am hitting the road. And in that, I've built a pretty crazy life of massive, massive international connections. And I've made some products for my internal group on that. I'm not sure how much publicly I'm going to talk about it at this point, but man, if you get it down on how to live internationally, you could have a pretty amazing life. It's the beauty of humanity. is really the most important thing I would like to share. This other thing too is divorce and custody stuff. Actually, there's just too much to talk about. Because there's also addiction stuff, there's treatments and alternative treatments for addiction and how that mixes in with other stuff, man. There's a lot I've done in these last 4 years. But the divorce and custody stuff is really where this channel has kind of sat for a little bit, and there's gonna be more. And I really want to go into what was in the different cases I had around divorce and custody, how they affected me, how they affected my kids. And I'm gonna tell you this, the last time I did it in 2019, I won. And man, I won hard. But even when you win, you never really win. And that is what is important. So even though I won like hardcore on paper, there were a lot of similarities to when I've lost in some of the most tragic ways, if you guys know my story. You may not be able to believe this, but they were kind of the same. I am done with this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe, share, like, there's gonna be more like mega cool stuff that I put out. And really sharing a good message of humanity. Masculinity in this modern world is not dead. It might be handicapped, but so is everything. We were born into an environment where things are gonna be against us. And that's not just men, that's everybody. How we learn to live it is really unreal. It's the best stuff. So I'm gonna end it. I'll talk to you guys soon. And check out these cool images. I think in this video, there's a lot of Colombia, so we'll stick with it.